Hi there, and welcome to yet another Vuvu Vena Reads vlog. I was all dressed up today. I went to the office, but as you can tell, you know, I'm under the blankets. I'm trying to keep warm. My shift today was broken up with quite a long break, so I am not done for the day, but the next bit is only going to be in a few hours. So load shedding being load shedding, and like I always say wherever I can, that if possible, right, there's two things that you should be doing during load shedding. This is not prescriptive. I'm talking about me to myself, like Vuvu, there's two things that you should be doing during load shedding. If you're not resting, as in sleeping, that's the only form of rest I understand. Otherwise, lying in my bed, my mind does its own thing, and before I know it, I'm up doing something else because I can't seem to know how to just be still. So I must either sleep or read. So load shedding is definitely for reading, so this is the start of a reading vlog. Yay! So today I'm picking up Sue Nyathi's An Angel's Demise, and I cannot wait to tuck in. This one was sent to me by Pen Macmillan for review purposes, and most of her books, I only didn't read one of her books live for you guys, so you guys know how we do Sue's books. We try our best to read live. This one is a chunker. I am going to link my first chapter Friday that I did, where I did give my sentiments on the cover, as well as give you guys a synopsis, as well as read you guys the first chapter. So I will not be repeating that here. You guys can see the video that is in the link. I'm just going to delve right in, right, because time is a precious thing. I just want to let you guys know how long this is. Okay, so I see at the back it's a historical timeline, bibliography, further reading, acknowledgements. It's 335 pages long. It's not so bad. I do understand, having gone to the book launch, that this was her first time truly dabbling in historical fiction. Having read her other works, I agree. Her works have a lot to do with, like, how do they call it? Like current day fiction. What is the contemporary? It's more contemporary, but I think with time it could even be considered historical when time passes. I don't know if you hear what I'm saying. Anyway, hi, I did my nails. I'm back to doing my nails. I don't know what rekindled this, but I felt like I wanted to do it, so I did my own set this time around. I'm drinking some tea. It is chilly, like I said, but also this is a caffeinated tea, so it's gonna wake me up a bit. By the time it's time for my shift, I won't be feeling groggy. And yeah, so let's tuck in. I don't want to say I'm gonna divide it into, because what I do know about Sue, she knows that I know this about her, is that when I drama, I don't know in which form she's gonna serve it with this, right? But she's full of drama, so I know that there's gonna be a lot of moments, right? So I don't want to say I'm gonna divide it and then you guys see me coming back here to tell you stories every 2 seconds and you're like, she definitely is not at the quarter-way mark already. So I'm just putting it out there. Let's do some reading.
I'm sorry for the change in the things I say. It's not that I don't notice, to me it's still the same. If I don't show a sign, I'm leaving my love blind, expecting you to read my mind. Well, I hope that you know that I hear that I don't, let it show that I want you. There's not a way to explain that it can.
Okay, so I've just finished the prologue, and as can be expected, like I said to you guys, Sue served the drama, okay? And I remember obviously reading this prologue I want to say it was a few months ago, but it was a while back, and I had a vague understanding of what was going to happen. But I don't like starting books from the second chapter just because I've read the first chapter for you guys. So I always go back so that I can have a seamless journey with the story. So far we've met a nameless or unnamed woman who we meet in a prison cell, right? So with most of Sue's stories, I do give spoilers because I want my shock and horror to be a shock and horror, but I also try not to spoil too much. So say should maybe one of the characters die, right, I really won't spoil that for you guys. I will obviously come through with a shock, but I'll try and evade what exactly happened. I hope that makes sense. So our first main character in the, it seems from the prologue, not named as yet, and is in prison for, it seems, crimes that they are not guilty for. They describe their living conditions in incarceration. They have memories of the high life that they used to live and the power that they used to have, and the humiliation of being seen by the media and the public in the manner in which she is in currently, right? And it all comes out very clearly. Like this opening scene, well, this prologue is like an opening scene in a movie, right, or a series. I'd definitely be captured by who is this person and what is about to go down, because as soon as the prologue is over, it says part 1, I think. Let me see. It says yes, part 1, the Genesis. So I'm feeling like Lil Miss Sue is gonna take us back into what happened. And already we've already got a sense that the villain, or yeah, let's call him the villain is male, and it's somebody that she, the prisoner, knows, it seems, intimately. I don't know if I can say it's a husband, a lover, a brother, but so far they've only been referred to as he. And it seems like what the prisoner is going through in terms of the torture they're experiencing and the circumstances they're in the prison setup is because of this person or this man's power in society. So they are being mistreated. They're not being treated as a regular prisoner, sorry. So it seems like it's from the orders of this man that we don't yet know. Also the chapter ends on a moment, right? Because we feel her, we've got a few pages in and it's from her perspective, so we're understanding, go to, okay, this is where her mindset is at. And already, I won't lie to you guys, Mina as the reader, at the point where I got to understand like a bit of her psyche, right? Already within these few pages, I'm like, she's not guilty. This one she is being used by he, whoever he is, ne? So something happens in court during her appearance that leaves you wondering a lot of things, but we shall see, since Sue is taking us back into time. Let's see what that's about. So I'll probably chat with you guys at the end of the chapter or when I stumble upon anything else. Okay, so I had to wear a gown, child. It's cold. I think I'm going to introduce you to the characters as I come across them per chapter. So I've just finished chapter 1. In chapter 1, we come across, it's the beginning, right? So it's part 1, chapter 1. And we have established that this is pre-liberation in an African country, because there's a hierarchy and we are in a farm, right? Wherever we are in a farm, and the workers in the farm refer to the owner as Bass. So the Bass, his name is Paul and his wife is Melanie, I think, Melanie, and they've just been interrupted by one of their workers. Yes, it's Melanie. They've just been interrupted by one of their workers. His name is Douglas, who has come to report a woman who is in labor within the I want to say within the compound, or who's one of the workers, because they seem to know who she is. Her name is Simpiwe. So we meet Simpiwe in distress. It seems like it's not a natural labor. When we meet Simpiwe, we don't meet her alone. we meet her with other, I want to say villagers, but I suppose it's workers or people in the farming community who are close to where they live. We have already been given a sense of the kind of man that Paul is, which is not really, he's easy to hate, but at the same time he functions in a very logical A-type personality way. I don't know if you hear what I'm trying to say. So, and then we've realized that his wife Melanie is a very soft, quite the opposite. Basically, it seems like they're foils of each other. Fine. So the chapter ends during this crisis, right, which births, in inverted commas, another crisis. So far we have met the woman in the prison. I don't know who she is. We understand that there is a he linked to the reason why she is in jail. Don't know who he is. Then we have met Paul, who happens to be an owner of a farm, and like I'm saying, the setting seems to be pre-liberation, pre-freedom in a I want to say Southern African country. I'm saying this because I'm aware of the fact that Sue is of Zimbabwean origin, right? So it could either be South Africa or Zimbabwe. I feel like I could be wrong. It's either South Africa or Zimbabwe. Pre-liberation, we've met Paul and his wife, like I said, Melanie, and then we've met two workers, which is Douglas, who came to call for the, I don't know what their surnames are, for the owners, and Simpiwe, who is in labor and distress. Something weird happens though when Simpiwe sees Paul. And after the crisis, before the next crisis, there's a I so wonder, there's a moment, I'll call it a moment. I don't think like it's a moment, because like, but I'll call it a moment for lack of a better word. But I wonder, I so wonder, so wonder, a part of me, I like, so for me the reading process is very intriguing when I try and guess, especially with stories like this, when I try and guess what could happen, who is the child that just caused this commotion in terms of the labor, the child that would be birthed. Is it possibly the one who's in jail now? Do they even survive? What is going on between Simpiwe and Paul? And why is it's Melanie so strong and weak at the same time? These are the questions after chapter 1. Ponder. Let's get it going. I've got about an hour left before I have to work, so let's see what chapter I wanted to say chapter 3, chapter 2 has in store for us. Okay, so I've got two things that I wanted to share with you guys that just kind of give you the kind of basic setting, because Sue does not tell us which year the book is set in, but the one is just to point at why I don't like Paul. Like, he did something I would say quite heroic, but child, like the first impression, and first impressions don't lie, was just a no from me. So okay, so this is after Paul sees that Douglas is at the gate trying to reach him for assistance, and Douglas has said what he needed to say in his broken English to alert them to the emergency of Simpiwe's labor, right? So it says, instinctively Paul did not want to get involved. He did not understand why these Kafirs insisted on breeding like rats and making their reproductive problems his. So the other one is also just showing the kind of time. I feel like I'm gonna sneeze. Okay, the setting, it says now they've managed to rush the mother to the hospital. It says a black nurse was manning the nurses station. It was a peculiar sight because it was uncommon in those days to have black nurses working in white hospitals. They had started recruiting them in the early 70s to relieve the pressure on their European counterparts. So I'm feeling like this is like the mid or early 80s. I could be wrong, like I'm saying, but it does give off very apartheid, very colonial still vibes. My hat is far because child, I am freezing. Okay, so it does give off those kind of vibes, right? And I applaud Sue as a black female writer who had seen, it doesn't matter what her age might have been, it might have been very early on in her life that she experienced the period before liberation, either in Zim or here in South Africa. But I applaud her for including, I suppose probably because of the story she has to tell, but what I'm trying to get at is that there's a pain associated with race, right? Especially a pain that is, at this point I even want to say, inherent in black people, right? It's something that keeps on passing through the generations worldwide, right? And there are certain parts of that kind of pain that are more pronounced in certain areas or in certain regions. So what I'm getting at this point in time also is just the mention of the word kafir, right? I think it's as bad as saying, I suppose, negro or nigger in the States. So for me, I know that that word is a trigger, and obviously, like I'm saying, the pain is kind of passed on. So I was very young when before liberation, I'm not a born free, before freedom, but I definitely have strong memories of when freedom did happen. So because I was very young, there are certain nuances that I miss because of where I lived, etc., even though I come from a very political family. So reading words like that coming out of certain bodies in literature really does have a, you know, effect on you. So obviously for me, Paul was a cancellation, like in terms of his character. But at the same time, there's something weird that she does with him. Straight after he's offended, he does something very, like I said, heroic. And I'm like, listen, nah, personally, Sue, right about now I want to pick a side, and my side says I don't like Paul, but it also says if Paul was not there during this crisis, what could have happened? But anyway, I just thought I'd give you a glimpse as to like the basic setting of this early stage of the book. And so whatever else I might say coming on from this point is just from an understanding of this could be the early to mid 90s. I don't think it's the late 90s. And it seems to me that the person who's in prison is the time or the era that they're in is post-liberation, like a long time post-liberation, or maybe newly liberated. It could be one of the two, but we shall find out. But I like the puzzles, I like the fact that there's a bit of mystery, and I also like the fact that I already have a character I don't like. Yeah, I say that I like that. Aha, so now it is clear. They have made mention of one place. The place is Gwelo, which happens to be a city in central Zimbabwe. Even if you search it online, what comes across is Gwelo, Rhodesia. So this is during the Rhodesian era in Zimbabwe, and we come across this because our darling Simpiwe cannot be treated at this institution that has black nurses. It only treats white people. I'm gonna be triggered, and I think I'm gonna be triggered based on the fact that one of my majors in varsity was politics. So I think because I didn't do things like history, etc. when I was in high school, there's a lot that I discovered when I was in varsity that I feel maybe people who did history might have had a little bit of an inkling towards, but I discovered it, I feel like, at a very impressionable age, because obviously varsity, finishing my teens, entering my 20s, right? And some of the things I learned, I don't want to lie to you guys, completely shattered me. And most interesting of all is that the brutalities I was learning about inflicted on black people by white people were being taught to me by white men. Let that sink in. Just think about it, think on it, like what I'm saying to you right now. So as I am like I said, I think I said this before to you guys, that I am the kind of reader that pictures, right, what she's read. So I've already located myself in this hospital. I see the scene, I see it clearly in my mind, and as I am giving these characters faces and seeing the scene, etc., etc., I'm just like, there will have to come a point where humanity needs to account as to what the black race, right, did to deserve any of it. Here's a child who hasn't lived for even 2 seconds being denied the possibility of having their mother live and be a mother, right, to them, just because of the color of their skin. And this, okay, fine, I'm getting preachy, but like the mind-blowing thing in this narrative is that this is an injustice that is upheld by a fellow brown-skinned woman who is most likely also a mother, who could not be treated in the institution in which they work. All of it, just think on it. Nah. Hi guys, I look a mess. I am a mess. I'm about to take a nap, but I thought I would come through and give you guys an update on An Angel's Demise by Sue Nyathi. I'm almost halfway through the book. I've finished part 1 and part 2. I've just started part 3. So what I like about what Sue has done is that this is definitely, obviously, a saga that is based in Zimbabwe. I know that when I first started the book, I wasn't sure exactly where the story was based. It is based in Zimbabwe, and it follows 2 families and the generations that ensue from a certain matriarch or even patriarch, depending on the 2 families, right, of that family. And it tracks their life span in the background or backdrop of Zimbabwe's fight for liberty. Okay, sorry, I think my lens is dirty, just 2 seconds. Okay, for liberty. And these families are of different races. So there's a white family that happens to be the farm owners in this area of Zimbabwe, and the black family is part of the farm laborers on that specific farm. I hope I'm making sense. The name of the farm is Bell Acres, and what she does for the first 2 parts of the story is that, actually the first part of the story, she takes us, I want to say it's Angel's birth, right? She introduces the birth of Velile, who I think later on adopts the word angel. And this is a crucial part or point in the story of both these families, right? So the matriarch in Velile's side of the family is Mabusi, who happens to be Velile's grandmother, who happens to have a very, very intricate history with the Williams family, who are the owners of Bell Acres, right? So when we meet all of these people, we meet Mabusi together with her daughter Kiwa, who is an albino, right? Back in the day, like if we're talking about liberation from colonialism, so you can understand, it's like the late 1900s in Zimbabwe, whose daughter is Simpiwe, whose daughter is Velile. Simpiwe is in a relationship with a man. I almost want to say the man was her teacher. Was it a teacher? Or one of the or one of the farm laborers? But anyway, he's based on the farm. And his name is Douglas, who is Velile's father. The fathers rather her mother's father is like an unknown, right, in the story, but we do get insight into Mabusi's life and how she ended up at Bell Acres, as well as Kiwa's life and how she ended up at Bell Acres. And it's really quite a sad story of patriarchy as well as circumstance, right, poverty, etc. And then on the side of the Williams, we have, when we encounter Velile, which is her birth being the opening scene of this book, never mind the prologue, right? We also meet Melanie, who is married to Paul, and they are currently the owners of the farm. It has been passed down for generations in Paul Williams' family. Melanie comes from a very well-off family in South Africa, married Paul and moved to what looks like a meager livelihood and community as compared to how she grew up. I think her dad was something big in the mines in South Africa, and for his daughter, who had studied journalism, to just marry a farmer from Rhodesia and just live a simple life. It makes no sense, but if you get to know the Melanie character, you come to understand that to some degree, to her, or rather the way in which the character has been formulated, it does make a level of sense. So Paul is a bigot. Paul's father was something really special, okay? And the way in which the families are linked is that Mabusi came into the picture as the helper or the nanny when Paul's mom, forget her name, Belle, yes, Belle, got married. I want to say that the dad's name was Graham or Greg, I'm not sure, to Greg or Graham, and looked after the kids so much so that she even breastfed Belle's children, right, as their nanny. Things transpired within that circle, which I feel like that would be a spoiler, but the working relationship was somewhat wobbly, but the families have stayed within each other's interaction until now. Velile's born, Simpiwe had to leave school. Douglas and Simpiwe want a better life for their child, and they decide to join the liberation struggle. So that's part 2. So part 2 is the fight for a better life for their child. It's the fight for a better country in which their child can grow up in. It's the fight for all things better, right? And both of them, mother and father, decide to take part in the liberation struggle. So where I feel like Miss Sue did a clever thing is how the Williamses' lives intertwine with Mabusi's family and Douglas's family without them actually going out of their way or knowing that their lives are bumping into each other in this manner, right? So things transpire that are quite intriguing, but this book is really packed with a lot of Zimbabwean history, pre-freedom, post-freedom, because I'm about to start section 3, like I said, and section 2 was just the walk to attaining democracy. So part 3 is titled The Democratic Dream. At this point, I'm convinced that the woman in the prologue is definitely Angel, but we've heard very little of her, right? We've obviously kind of tracked her life since she was born to where she is now once democracy has been attained, but a lot has happened in between and none of it has really been focused on her. So I cannot wait to find out what more is going to come out. As per usual, I'm really never doubting how Sue is going to write. Her writing I absolutely love. I love that it balances accessibility with sophistication. I don't know how to put that together, right? She is a very talented storyteller, I have no doubt about that. And because this is her first historical fiction, I was a little bit apprehensive when I did enter the book, I don't want to lie, but she's still the queen of drama, okay? I don't know how these things live in her head, how she brings them together, but she still knows how to bring the juice to the story, right? The thing that's gonna keep you reading, whether it's through suspense or it's just basically through how she weaves the two, storytelling and writing, together. She is really very gifted. So one other thing that I wanted, I feel like it's two things, but one other thing that I wanted to raise is the fact that, having read a few historical fiction books even around Zimbabwe, like House of Stone, I have not gotten a perspective that brings in the viewpoint of both races and that makes their lives collide in the manner in which Sue is doing in this book, and for that it's really, really, really well done. It is a saga, like I said, so on both sides of these families we do follow the different generations, especially I think on the white side we are looking at them through the lens of the men in the Williams family. On this side we are looking at them, and the black side we're looking at them through the lens of the women in the family. And for me, I feel like that was a great way to tell the story, right? Because black women, especially of Nguni, I want to say that's the tribe, sort of tribe that Zimbabweans also fall under, like the Shona, etc. is Nguni. I could be wrong, I don't know my African history that well, but are always portrayed, and is true in reality as well as in fiction, to be very hard-headed, very, very agency driven, right? They've got a sense of agency that is not always seen in other cultures, to the extent that I am also of Nguni heritage, to the extent that we are seen as stubborn, hard-headed, strong-willed, untamable, if you will, etc. And I love the fact that she chose to tell the black family's story through the vantage point of a matriarch as well as her subsequent daughters and grandchildren, etc. And the fact that this Angel character, obviously from the name, but when they were getting born we did not know what gender they would be, is also female. So I feel like we are now getting closer to the reason why Angel, guys, if it's not Angel and it's like Angel's daughter, I'm gonna be like so shocked with myself. I just want to see how many chapters are, or how many pages are in the third section. But why she ended up in jail chatting to, was it spiders or rats? You know, guys, I don't like doing this, because this thing of reading different books, okay, it looks like it's 67 pages until the fourth part of the story. Let me see. of reading other books in between. And the thing is, I can't help myself. That's just, I suppose, how I'm wired. I do try and resist, but I do end up reading different books in between. But I try my best to make sure, between hard copies that is, I try my best to make sure that they are of different genres. But for some reason, I feel like while reading this one, I have come across very similar content, not similar, let me say, characters that I could easily place in the story as well in my head. I'm sure that makes sense. So it's causing the utmost confusion, cha. But I am almost halfway through the book, and I do plan on reading a bit more, maybe getting through the halfway mark of the 3rd section. I want to see, I thought there was like a contents page, but there isn't. So I see this section 4. I just want to see if it ends on 4, which I doubt. Section 5, I think it's 5 sections in whole. So if I can finish section 3 before I have to do life, I'll be very happy, because it means that I'm left with 2 sections. So that's the update. I'll probably be updating you again very soon, because like I'm saying, we are pushing. So far, I do want to say to you, I do have favorites, right? So from the Williams family, my favorite character is definitely Melanie. Even though I feel for Belle, I feel like they did her wrong. From the other family, because I don't want to give them like a surname, because it's not really, yeah. Mabusi, who's the grandmother, is my favorite. Even though I also feel like she was done dirty. Right. So all in all, those are my thoughts so far, and it's looking to me to be, at this point, right, halfway mark, to be a strong 3.75, almost a 4, right? I don't think that I've ever rated any of her books less than 4, so I think this might shape up to being a 4 or even more. I can't wait to see what she actually unhatches with the story. I have ambitions of finishing the book today. Let me just be transparent with you guys, because there's another book I just got that I just want to dive into, like immediately. 2 books to be exact, immediately. So wish me luck. See you guys. I think I'll chat to you guys at the end of part 3, seeing as there's only 3 parts left, right? So I didn't come to you guys at the quarter-way mark, but you can take this chit chat of part 1 and 2 as that, and then I'll come to you guys at the end of part 3, then at the end of part 4, then at the end of the book. Okay. Oh guys, we are in the midst of load shedding. Welcome to the Republic of South Africa. We are also in the midst of sprints, but my UPS just died. I am currently reading An Angel's Demise by Sue Nyathi, which is why I picked up the camera, because I am finally on section 4. I'm about to start section 4, and Sue and her drama, because the way that section 3 has ended is really like, I think am I stew? Am I better now? I don't know. Like, it's really so sad, so complicated, so, I don't want to call it strange, because really, like, I'm glad the lights are back, but really, it had to happen now. Washing machines, ring lights, alarms, everybody. Anyway, so what I'm trying to get at is that we've finally officially met Velile as Angel, and she has just finished what we will call maybe her matric. at the end of section 3, she has experienced her first romantic relationship, which is a forbidden love. That story really was quite sad on so many levels, not just for the fact that it was forbidden, but for the fact that she was so young to be able to navigate what it is that's going on in that kind of connection. And at the same time, though, because of the times, I really do believe that she knew what she wanted, and so did her partner. But there are people pulling strings behind the scenes, and things did not end up playing out the way that the couple desired. And it is at this point that section 3 is ending. I am left with 2 sections. I'm really hoping to make a dent. It's like 10 o'clock now in the evening. Hoping to make a dent on section 4 and hopefully finish the book by tomorrow morning. I am having a bit of a slow situation, but it's to be expected with the last sprint session of the weekend. I did read and finish this book during the sprints, which is Kennedy Ryan's Before I Let Go. Our sprints were sponsored this month, sponsored by Wordsworth Books, and this is one of the books that they sent to me, so I read and finished this one. Did a little tabbing. Was quite an interesting story. I will put up a review on my blog on it, but I thought I'd hop on here, just let you know that Angel is grown, and I feel like the next section, which is called The Occupation, is going to give us a little bit more insight and bring us closer to the circumstances surrounding the prologue. So I probably will catch up with you guys at the end of section 4. Because of the noise and my current state, I will unpack a bit of section 3 when I chat to you guys about section 4 as well. Hi guys, it's the following morning and I thought I'd come with an update. I am on part 5. That's called The Afterlife, and I have just under 60, just over 50 pages actually to go, and I really would like to finish it, but my kids are party animals. They've been invited to a party, so I have to get going. I am obviously still talking about An Angel's Demise by Sue Nyathi. A lot took place in part 4, and I feel like for me the thing that really sticks with me in the story is, you know, I feel like, put race aside, human beings are just complicated creatures. All in all, we are just the weirdest formulated beings on earth, and we come with such complexities before you put in the politics, the race, the whatevers. And I feel like Sue has navigated all of that so well in the story, right? The emotions, the politics, the upbringing, the social construct of how we understand life and living, and just how these choices and decisions that we make based on things that we probably had no control over, as our upbringing, who parented us, what their beliefs were, etc., end up culminating in like a consequence that is based on a decision that was made even before you existed, if you get what I'm trying to say. So perhaps other people will look at those as generational blessings, generational curses, but it's such a profound manner in which she has navigated that idea in this book. And as always, like I always say, I have no fault in how Sue writes. I do feel like the story is a tad bit long. There are parts of the story where I feel like points were made and it could have been condensed, if you hear what I'm trying to say. But in as far as it being an enjoyable read, it does not exhaust you, even though you feel like, okay, no, I get it, like we can move on to the next part of this plot or this story or this journey. It's not tiring. I don't know how to explain it, because you do get that sense sometimes with authors that this book should have ended so long ago, and it is an exhaustion to try and get to the next phase of the book. You don't feel tired, but you do feel like, we get it, got it, what's next? So I'm saying, I've just got under 60 pages left, and I'm enjoying it, and I can't wait for my chat with Sue. And yeah, that's that on that. Let me get these kids ready for the party before I get killed, and I'll catch up with you guys at the end of the book. Hi guys, so it's time for the final update on Sue Nyathi's and Angel's Demise. I did finish it yesterday night, and the fourth section is the fifth section. Why am I speaking like this? Is the afterlife, right? And at this point we follow how Angel gets to be in the prison. So it's definitely her in the prologue. I don't think that that's a spoiler. I think initially when you do open the book, especially if you've read the synopsis, you feel like it is her, but obviously the thrill or the suspense of it is figuring out if it actually is her, because the story is filled with a lot of characters. As I had explained, it is a sort of saga. So we get to the point where she's grown enough to be the person that we meet in the prologue, and a lot happens. I don't even know how to verbalize it. A lot happens in terms of her character development, her understanding of society, and my battery is flashing. Her understanding of society and just how the world works, and where that leads her, and how she ends up there. What I do want to say though is that even though it seems like a hopeless story, especially for this character, there's a little bit of hope at the end. I do feel like it's too little too late for me, but I get it, I get it in the background of the political situation that's taking place in this country, and why that story had to end that way. And I think that Sue definitely did do a phenomenal job. I absolutely love her writing. I've never minced my words about that. I did say the book was a little bit too long for me, but that said, the story was solid, strong, beautiful to read, and I ended up rating this a 4 out of 5 stars. I'm scared to do a brief review of this, so you guys can catch that maybe on my TikTok, because of the battery that's flashing. I'll try and review the book on TikTok for you guys, but it's a 4 out of 5. Absolutely loved it. I had to postpone my conversation with Sue because of a family situation on my side, so we'll have a chat soon. I'm sure after you've seen this vlog, we'll probably have a chat with her. Otherwise, yeah, thank you so very much for joining me for yet another one book reading vlog, and I truly hope that you have enjoyed it. Until next time, I really do love you guys for choosing me. It really means a lot to me. Stay blessed, stay loved, and until next time, bye now.